Often, life's circumstances push us into places we would never have chosen ourselves, places where countless secrets lurk in their dark corners, and worlds unseen by the naked eye exist. A place might seem ordinary at first glance, just walls, doors, and furniture, but in reality, it holds within its folds the memories of those who have left, the spirits of those who remained, and sometimes, ghosts that refuse to depart. This is the story of a young man who faced all of that in a place where the dead are supposed to be the only residents, but he discovered that some spirits don't wait for the resurrection to emerge from their graves. The rain was beating hard against the window pane, as if trying to shatter it to reach the inside. Basil sat in the small reception room, shivering from the cold and the dread of the place he found himself in. He had just accepted a job as a night guard in the government hospital morgue, after weeks of searching for work to help with his university expenses. The salary was very tempting, more than he could earn from any other job, but now he was doubting his decision. "Are you the new guard?" Basil jumped from his seat upon hearing the sudden voice. A tall, slender man wearing a long white coat stood in the doorway. His face was pale with cold expressions, and his blue eyes lacked any warmth. "Yes, I'm Basil. I am Drive Nasser, the director of the morgue. You've come on a suitable night," the man said in his hoarse voice, his tone carrying a hint of sarcasm. "Tonight's rain will cover up any sounds you might hear." Basil didn't know how to respond to that strange comment, so he settled for a silent nod. "Come with me, I'll show you around." Basil followed Drive Nasser down a long, dark corridor, lit by weak lamps hanging on walls painted a pale green. The floor was made of black marble, strangely shiny despite its age. The smell of formalin and disinfectants was so strong it almost took one's breath away. "This is the main hall, Drive," Nasser said, opening a large double door. Basil entered a vast hall, bitterly cold. Rows of silver metal refrigerators stretched in every direction, numbered sequentially. The cold light emanating from the fluorescent lamps in the ceiling gave the place an appearance akin to a horror movie scene. "Your task is simple, Drive," Nasser continued. "You patrol the halls every 2 hours, make sure the refrigerators are properly closed, and note any observations in the log. Do not open any refrigerator, and do not examine the bodies. That is not part of your duties." "Okay, understood. There's one more thing, Drive." Nasser stopped suddenly and turned his pale face towards Basil. "You might hear sounds, or see shadows. These are just illusions. The place is old, and the pipes make strange noises. Don't let your imagination deceive you." Basil felt a strange coldness run through his body. Those instructions were not reassuring in the least. After Dr. Nasser left, Basil sat in the small room designated for the guard. It was a simple room containing an old desk, a chair, a small television, and a large wall clock whose heavy ticks filled the room with anxiety. As the night progressed, strange sounds began to reach his ears. At first, they were faint, like soft footsteps in the distant corridor. Then came the sounds of moving lids, and faint moans. Every time Basil went out to check the source, he found nothing. On his third round, Basil felt a strange urge to head towards the main hall. He entered the large, dark hall, where rows of metal refrigerators stretched in every direction. The air was very cold, and his breath condensed into white clouds. And suddenly, he heard a clear sound of a refrigerator closing from the inside. His heart jumped. He cautiously advanced towards the last row, where he had heard the sound. It was number 1307. He placed his trembling hand on the cold metal handle, and suddenly, he heard a faint whisper, "Leave this place. They don't want you here." Basil fled the hall, his heart pounding violently. He was convinced he had heard that voice clearly. But he convinced himself he was tired, and his imagination was playing tricks on him. In the second week, the nightmares began. He dreamed every night that he was locked in one of the refrigerators, hearing voices whispering his name. He would wake up trembling, sure he heard the sound of footsteps approaching his door. One night, as he sat in the room, he heard the sound of the outer doorbell. He looked at the wall clock. It was 3 a.m. Who could visit the morgue at this hour? When he opened the door, he found an old woman wearing a black dress, carrying a small box. "My son, where's my son?" she whispered in a broken voice. "Ma'am, the place is closed now. You can come back in the morning." The woman raised her tearful eyes. "They brought him here last night. I want to see his face one last time." Basil felt pity for her. "What is his name?" "Karim Abdul Rahman." Basil requested the corpse log and found the name. The body was in refrigerator number 1307, the same number from which he had heard the voice on the first night. He took the woman to the main hall. When they reached the refrigerator, he opened it hesitantly. Inside the refrigerator was the body of a young man in his 20s, his face pale but with handsome features. "Kareem, my dear," the mother whispered, touching his cold face. At that moment, Basil saw something that made him freeze in place. The corpse's eyes were open, staring directly at him, but he was sure they had been closed when he opened the refrigerator. After the mother left, Basil returned to the room trembling. He couldn't forget the gaze of those dead eyes. He decided to search the morgue's old records, hoping to find an explanation for what was happening. The next day, while drive, Nasser was absent. Basil entered his office and began searching through the old files. He discovered that the morgue was once part of a mental hospital, and that unethical experiments were conducted on patients there. He also found a special file for corpse number 1307 Kareem Abdul Rahman, who had died under mysterious circumstances a month ago. But the most terrifying file was that of a psychiatrist named Drive Elias, who ran the hospital in the 1940s. Dr. Elias was obsessed with the idea of communicating with the spirit world and conducted horrifying experiments on patients before and after their deaths. According to rumors, Drive Elias was still present in the building, continuing his experiments after his death. That night, Basil decided to confront his fear. He took a powerful flashlight and began his usual rounds, but this time he was determined to discover the truth. In the main hall, he heard multiple whispers coming from different directions. "Leave. Leave before it's too late." Basil advanced towards the center of the hall. "I want to know the truth. What is happening here?" And suddenly, the lights went out. The darkness was utter, and the cold became biting. Basil heard the sound of heavy footsteps approaching him. Then a vague shape appeared in the darkness, a tall man wearing a white coat. "Dr. Elias," Basil whispered. "I am the one who seeks knowledge," the figure said in a deep, hollow voice. "These patients, their spirits are still here, serving my research. Let them go. Let me go. I cannot. You have entered our world now, and have become part of our experiment." Other shapes appeared in the darkness, the ghosts of the patients tortured in this place. Their faces were pale, their eyes vacant, their hands stretched towards Basil. Basil fled the hall, heading towards the main door. But the door was locked. He heard the footsteps approaching from behind him, and the whispers growing louder. "Join us, join us forever." Basil found himself cornered. Dr. Elias stood before him, his eyes gleaming in the dark. "The time has come for you to become part of our immortal research." At that moment, Basil heard another voice, the voice of the old woman who had visited him the previous night. "Kareem, help this young man as you helped me." A pale-faced young man appeared beside Basil. It was Kareem, but he no longer looked sinister. "Mother, I will protect him." Kareem and the other ghosts who were victims of Dr. Elias began to gather around Basil, protecting him from the evil ghost. "No, they are mine," screamed Drive Elias. But the spirits of the victims were stronger when united. Kareem advanced towards Drive Elias, and with a light touch, the evil doctor's ghost began to evaporate like smoke. "Go now," Kareem said to Basil. "You have freed us. Now we can rest in peace." The main door suddenly opened, and Basil escaped from the morgue into the pouring rain outside, heedless of the cold or the darkness. Weeks passed after the incident of that terrifying night. Basil immediately resigned from his job at the morgue, preferring to return to a life of poverty rather than face those nightmares again. But despite his physical distance from that place, the shadows continued to haunt him in his sleep, and in the silence of the moments when he was alone. On one cold winter night, as Basil sat in his small room trying to study, he heard a light knock on the door. When he opened it, he found the same old woman he had met that night at the morgue. She was smiling a calm smile, completely different from the sad, broken woman he remembered. "I wanted to thank you," she said in a soft voice. "Kareem appeared to me in a dream and told me he is fine now. You freed him from that prison." Basil felt a wave of warmth wash over him, but he was confused. "How did you know where I live?" The woman smiled mysteriously. "Good spirits guide us to where we need to be." Then she handed him a small envelope. "This is a token of appreciation from me and from everyone you helped." After the woman left, Basil opened the envelope to find a sum of Mon.